All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we are completely demystifying cardiovascular health by looking at the incredible journey of your plate. We hear a ton about heart disease, but so often that advice feels totally disconnected from our daily lives. It gets trapped in sterile clinics and bogged down by confusing medical jargon. Well, today we're changing that. We're going to break down the exact science backed mechanics of how your food choices interact with your bloodstream. And honestly, more importantly, how you can take total control of your cardiovascular destiny, starting with your very next meal. So, I want to start with a pretty critical question for you. Do you actually know the invisible numbers, like A1C, blood pressure, and cholesterol, that are driving your heart's health from the inside out? These are the absolute ABCs of heart disease, and knowing them is your first line of defense. A1C measures your blood glucose control over a 3-month window. Blood pressure measures the physical force against your artery walls. And cholesterol? That measures the waxy fats circulating in your blood. If you don't know your numbers, you are essentially driving a car with a completely broken dashboard. Let's kick things off with Section 1, your heart's invisible threats. Okay, let's talk cholesterol. It's really a tale of two lipoproteins because not all cholesterol is created equal. Your liver makes it, but we also take it in from our diet. Now, too much LDL, that's the low-density lipoprotein, builds physical blockages in your blood vessels in the form of plaque. If that plaque ruptures or completely blocks a vessel feeding the heart, you suffer a heart attack. On the flip side, we have HDL, which is basically your body's built-in cleanup crew. High levels of HDL actually protect your heart by sweeping bad cholesterol right out of your bloodstream. And here's the kicker. Your diet directly dictates which of these forces wins the battle. Now, thinking about blood pressure guidelines, we're really looking at the physical strain on your heart's internal highways. When your blood pushes too hard against those artery walls, basically anything consistently over that normal 120/80 mark, your heart is forced to work way harder than it was ever designed to. Over time, a heart that works that hard actually gets larger, and an enlarged heart really struggles to meet your body's needs. Plus, this high pressure damages the arteries, which can eventually lead to kidney disease or even vision problems. Here is a super stark contrast for you. We have plaque-building saturated animal fats on one side and protective plant-based unsaturated fats on the other. Saturated fats come from things like beef, pork, butter, and whole milk. A great rule of thumb to remember from the research is this: the more firm a fat is at room temperature, the more saturated it is. These are the main culprits raising your LDL cholesterol. Conversely, unsaturated fats like olive oil, canola oil, and fats from nuts and seeds are liquid at room temperature, and they actively help manage and improve your cholesterol profile. Moving right along to Section 2, the heart-healthy plate. Okay, let's pivot from the clinical warnings to the fun part: colorful, delicious, healing. We need to debunk the myth right now that heart-healthy eating means kissing all delicious food goodbye. A heart-healthy diet isn't about restriction. It's about abundance. It's about literally flooding your system with phytonutrients, antioxidants, and fiber from whole foods that naturally reduce blood pressure, lower that bad cholesterol, and protect your blood vessels. So how do we build a nutrient-dense meal without losing the flavor? It comes down to some really simple visual geometry. Step 1 is the ultimate game changer. Just fill half of your plate with non-starchy vegetables. This automatically crowd controls the heavy, calorie-dense foods while massively pumping up your fiber intake. Then you divide the other half equally between fiber-rich whole grains and lean proteins like beans, fish, or skinless poultry. Finally, drizzle on some healthy unsaturated plant fats and swap that salt shaker for fresh herbs and spices. And honestly, you absolutely do not need a complex app or a calculator to track this stuff. If you just look down at your dinner plate and it generally matches these daily proportions, you are actively protecting your heart. It really is that straightforward. Which brings us to Section 3. Smarter grocery shopping. The battle for a healthy heart is actually won or lost before you even turn on the stove. By sticking to the perimeter of the grocery store and taking a categorized list, you effortlessly avoid the ultra-processed, high-sodium traps waiting in those center aisles. Think about it. The perimeter is where the fresh produce, lean proteins, and low-fat dairy live. The center aisles? That's where you find partially hydrogenated oils, dangerous trans fats, and massive amounts of hidden sugars and salts designed to extend shelf life, not human life. Oh, and the golden rule: never, ever go shopping when you're hungry. That's when willpower tanks, and suddenly those highly processed snacks look like a totally reasonable dinner. Now, if there's one single number you should be ruthlessly hunting for on nutrition labels, it's this:
2,300 milligrams. That is roughly the equivalent of just one single teaspoon of salt for your entire day. And hey, if you already have heart disease, that number drops even lower to 1,500 milligrams. Sodium acts literally like a sponge in your blood vessels. It pulls in water, increases your blood volume, and just drives that blood pressure right up. You've got to watch out for sneaky things like soy sauce, seasoned salts, and processed cheeses because they are massive hidden sources of sodium.
All right, let's get into Section 4, Recipes from the Heart. This isn't just cooking, it's a total flavor upgrade. Because nobody wants gray, mushy boiled vegetables, right? By tossing broccoli, zucchini, and peppers in a little olive oil, which is a great healthy unsaturated fat, and roasting them, you actually caramelize their natural sugars. It makes them incredibly crispy and sweet. It's a fundamental technique shift that proves healthy food is intensely appetizing. And it makes hitting that half plate of vegetables goal something you'll actually look forward to.
And yes, you can absolutely still enjoy your favorites. A homemade veggie burger made from black beans, cashews, and brown rice is an absolute knockout that satisfies your cravings while keeping those arteries nice and clear. The black beans give you a massive dose of cholesterol-lowering fiber, while the cashews provide those heart-healthy plant fats we talked about. By choosing a plant-based protein source like this over a fatty beef patty, you're eliminating the saturated fat that raises your LDL. You are completely transforming a traditional cheat meal into a cardiovascular superfood. Finally, let's look at Section 5, Lifestyle Habits for Success. Because let's be real, the ingredients you buy are only half the equation. Understanding why you eat is just as important. We so often eat out of boredom, stress, or pure habit rather than actual physical hunger. By tracking not just what you eat, but how you feel when you eat it, you can pinpoint those emotional triggers. And please, give yourself some grace. Trying to control absolutely everything perfectly just leads to burnout. If you have an off day and go overboard, don't throw the whole plan away. Just get right back on track the very next day.
And to tie this whole shebang together, we have a magic number, 150. Aim for 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity every single week to keep your newly fueled heart engine running strong. Physical activity works in total tandem with your diet. It helps raise that protective HDL cholesterol, manages your weight, and physically conditions your heart muscles so it simply doesn't have to work as hard to pump blood.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final empowering thought. Your heart's future literally begins with your very next meal. So what are you going to choose? Will you add an extra serving of roasted vegetables? Will you swap out that butter for some olive oil? Or maybe you'll just start checking the nutrition label for that hidden sodium. The power to change your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and your overall vitality is literally sitting right there on your plate. Make your next choice a powerful one.